Hello, it's Miss Casual Viewer, and welcome to another Bigfoot encounter. So, grab your hot chocolate and settle back for 4 or 5 minutes. Okay, this is a story that actually came to me from a family member, and I think this took place, I would say, if I had to guess, late 70s, early 80s, somewhere in there. Uncle Norman, my mom had a brother named Norman, so Uncle Norman. And this is a story he got from the lady that had the encounter. And he swears by it. He believed her. He had never seen or heard anything himself like this, but she had to be somebody that he really believed, because he wouldn't have told me this otherwise. And he was not, just try and fix that a little bit. Yeah, okay. Anyways, he was not a big storyteller. Once in a while he'd tell you something that happened, to my grandfather, or to him, something that took place when he was a kid or whatever, but not very often. So it was odd that he would tell a story that was even fantastical, which this kind of is. So him and my aunt used to go camping once a year. They would go for like a month. She would get like 3 weeks off from work, or sometimes 4 weeks, I don't know. Anyways, they would go out to the Fraser Valley. They would go to like the closest COA campground they could, like over near Chilliwack or something. And a couple nights a week they would go into town, and they would go to like play bingo. So they got to know the people, a little bingo hall out there, and got to know them quite well. And they would go back every year. And there was one lady that became a friend of theirs, and she had a very good reputation. She had been a school bus driver, so she had, good standing in the community, and he had never known her to lie or anything like that. And she did one day admit to a sighting that she had, a sort of an encounter with the big guy. And how the story goes is, I guess it was spring, and she was driving the school bus, and this took place in the village of Harrison. And now, if for anybody that knows a lot about or anything about Bigfoot, you know that Harrison Hot Springs is like a real hot spot. It's like Sasquatch Central, and has been known as such for over 100 years. Like, it's like in North America, it was like one of the hottest spots ever. There's even Sasquatch Provincial Park right there. Everybody knows that. So anyways, back in probably the late 70s, early 80s, she was driving a school bus, and she was picking up kids in the Harrison area. Now, Harrison's not that far. It's just across this like river from Chilliwack. And in between those two areas, interestingly enough, is the infamous Ruby Creek. And there was a big story about an encounter that a native family had, where they had to flee from a creature back many, many years ago. Like, it was like the 1940s or 50s or something. And that took place at Ruby Creek. So that whole area is just a hotbed of Sasquatch encounters. And one morning she went and she got into her bus, and she headed out to go start picking up the kids. And she said she was going down a residential road, and there wasn't like sidewalks per se, but there was the road, and then there was like a gravelly area and a wall of like evergreens. And on the other side of the hedges or the trees were the individual houses' yards. So she didn't have any kids with her yet. She was heading out, going down this road, and she looked and she saw one, and she said he was tall, he was huge. It wasn't a bear that, would toddle 4 or 5 steps and then go down on all fours. No, he was walking along for a good ways at a good clip, she said. And he was walking along. And I don't know, maybe he was lost in thought or something. Maybe he didn't notice her bus coming up. Because as soon as she saw him, she slowed down and she was just transfixed on watching this creature. I don't know, Neanderthal, whatever they are. Anyways, she did notice as he was walking along that he had something in his hand. She couldn't make out what it was. It wasn't very big, just it looked like he had something. And then she saw something fall from his hand. And he was and at that moment he ducked in. So he ducked in between the wall of trees that was separating the road from the yards, and then just disappeared from there. So whether he cut through somebody's yard and took off, that's what she assumed. And she was just shocked. And she doesn't know what that thing was that fell out of his hand or anything. She went and she did her, I don't know how, but I guess she was shocked, but not really in shock. So she was able to go pick up the kids and take them to school. And after she had done her route, she went back around actually and went back to that area where she had seen him and walked along there herself and looking to see if she could see anything. And she saw on the ground, close to where he ducked into the trees, a perfect porcelain cup, teacup. It was a teacup. So he was walking along, he had a teacup. She figures, well, maybe he had been going through garbage cans and pulled it out, or maybe found it in somebody's yard, had been left out and picked it up. And I think she kept it. And she said it was just the oddest thing. She said maybe that wasn't it. Maybe it was something else he had, but that was all that she could find there. And she was like, I'm 99% sure that she told my uncle that that's what he had in his hand. And the fact he didn't break it because they have such massive hands. And the fact that she could even tell that he was holding anything is weird. But I think what it was is she saw something fall from his hand into the grass. Because she says there was a road, there was a gravel strip, there was some grass at the trees, the wall of trees was right there, and he just ducked in behind them. Then she never saw him again. She couldn't even make out an outline. And I think she was looking for footprints and stuff, but she couldn't see anything other than that cup. But maybe the cup had nothing to do with it, who knows. But that was in the village of Harrison, and that was like late 70s, early 80s. They like hot spring areas, so especially if there's fresh water and hot springs, and there's a huge lake there, and if you got a cave system, which I don't know if there is one there, but I'm assuming because of all of the sightings that there probably is, that's like, Sasquatch heaven. So anyways, my uncle swore by it. He says she had a stellar, she was just a really sincere, good, hardworking person. And she enjoyed her bingo game, and they did too. And they were, good friends with her. And he says if she says that she watched one and saw it and that happened, that happened. He had no question at all. He never seen or heard of anything like that until then. And he told me that story. So there you go. And one day I'm going to go on a street map and just see if I can see a street that still, after all these years, still looks like that. Then I could actually maybe locate the street on Google where that happened. But I'm going to look for it. I haven't yet. I've been thinking about it. But who knows? So many years ago, the whole area could have probably changed. I don't know. But I'm going to look anyway. And that's it for tonight. Thank you so much. Catch you in the next one. Peace out.